Today, on Be Something Wonderful, you are one assumption away from the life you have always dreamed of. I am your host, Kearin, and these are the studios of Be Something Wonderful, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, good morning, and welcome back to the studios of Be Something Wonderful. One of you reached out to say, Tom, my life's a mess. The world's a mess. I've been trying and struggling to manifest and create more money, a relationship. I want a romantic relationship in my life. There's some changes in my appearance that I would like to manifest. I have an ongoing health issue that's chronic that I want to go away. And I want a better job and more money and all of this. And he said, I don't seem to be getting anywhere with it. Well, what if I told you this? And this is what I told him, and this is what I'm going to tell you. What if I told you that you are one assumption away from the life that you've always dreamed of, from everything that you ever wanted and desired? Wow. The great spiritual teacher and mystic, Neville Goddard, taught about the law, what he called the law of assumption, right? Assuming and imagining the life, your life as you would like it to be, and walking in that knowing. Now, we've unpacked many videos on Neville Goddard. I think dozens and dozens, maybe thousands on Neville Goddard. But today I want to take it on again in this powerful now moment, in this new moment of the eternal now. We're going to unpack it again like we never have before. So Neville Goddard said this, this is an assumptive world. It would be impossible to see anything unless you had first assumed it. Wow. Your assumptions not only shape your reality, they are your reality. In other words, they're your entire life experience. When we talk about assumptions, we're talking about your definitions of who you are, your concept of yourself, who you assume you are, and your assumed relationship to the world that you're creating. Wow. This means everything that you are trying and struggling to manifest, whether it's love, money, health, change in appearance, or success, or whatever it is just waiting on one thing. You don't need to wait. It's waiting on you. One thing. Your assumption. New in this now moment. Because I know what you're going to say, Tom, no, I have assumed it for the last 6 months or 10 years or 40 years or 40 hours or 4 days. Whatever it is. But I'm saying in this now moment, it's all new. Hold on to none of that and get into this now moment to know that you're one assumption away from everything that you've ever wanted and desired. The assumption that you are and have it all, that it's done, that it's yours, that you are that I am. Very powerful. We're going to really unpack this idea today. So, Neville Goddard's law of assumption. Here's what he says. It really sums it up beautifully. What you see when you look at something depends not so much on what is there as on the assumption you make when you look. Wow. Right, it reminds me of that quote that I've used from that movie Next with Nicolas Cage. And he plays that character who could see 2 minutes into the future. When he says a funny thing about the future. Every time you look, it changes because you looked, and that changes everything. Well, that's reality. Every time you're looking at reality as reality, every time you look, it changes. Because you're it, because you looked. Your assumptions create it all. Right? What you're assuming while you look is your reality. This is powerful. I want to read this again. What you see when you look at something depends not so much on what is there as on the assumption you make when you look. In fact, it depends nothing on what you believe is there. It depends on what you're assuming. Because there is no out there, as John Wheeler said. It's a projection or a reflection from within you. You're not looking at reality. You are looking as reality. I've made this point, but we're going to really, really unpack this idea today, now, in this now moment, here and now. As Moses answered God, here I am. Right, here we are unpacking it. One shift in who you assume you are, and the entire world, your reality, shifts and changes with you. Wow. I'm not sure we've said it so directly before. I'm sure we have. 2 channels, over 3,800 videos, but this is a powerful new moment. One shift in who you assume you are, and the entire world, your entire reality shifts and changes with you here and now, instantly. Total change, absolute change in this moment. Wow. The only thing between you and the life you've always dreamed of is just one assumption. Can you imagine? We think there's so many things in the way of everything we want, but it's just an assumption, your assumption. Remember what an assumption is. I've covered this in other videos, but from Oxford Dictionary or any dictionary. A thing that is accepted as true or as certain to happen without proof. That's the definition of an assumption. A thing that is accepted as true, that you accept as the truth of who you are, of your reality, and as certain to happen, because it's happening already, without proof. It's certain to happen because it's already happened, it's already happening. Without proof. In other words, you're the proof, you're the happening. Powerful. I am that which I desire and assume I am. This reveals the truth and true meaning of the question, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? Right, that religious question, but remember, we're talking about the metaphysical idea of this question. What's the metaphysical meaning of that? Jesus Christ is your own I am awareness of being, your higher self, that highest ideal that you have of yourself, that perfect ideal. Have you accepted that? In other words, aware that yourself as your personal Savior, meaning your own personalized conscious awareness is your Savior. Wow! Your own personalized conscious awareness of who you are and your reality is your Savior. In other words, it saves you from any conditions or circumstances that are not your preference, any reality that's not your desired reality. Your own I am awareness of being. That which you desire and assume to be, identifying with your ideal. Right? As Neville Goddard talks about that as the continual forgiveness of sin. The Spirit of Jesus Christ within you is the continual forgiveness of sin. In other words, continually forgiving yourself for not identifying as your highest ideal, as everything that you desire and want to be. You're continually forgiven for that because you can continue to identify and assume that ideal at any moment. It's a new moment. That's powerful. It saves you from assuming that you are separate or limited and powerless to change your life or your reality. Wow. That's what this means. So the question is, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Savior? Your own awareness of being that saves you from assuming that you are limited and separate and powerless to change and live that life that you've always wanted to live. Whew, that's powerful today. Neville Goddard, he goes on and he says, what you believe to be the real physical world is actually only an assumptive world. Whew. The people, events, and things and circumstances. Remember, it doesn't mean they're not real. I want to cover this today, right? What you believe to be the real physical world is an assumption world. Your assumptions are reality. That's the illusion, right? That the people, events, and circumstances out there are separate from you. What the illusion means, it's not what it seems. They're not separate from you. That's the illusion that all the spiritual teachers are pointing to. We interpret that as saying it's not real, it's fake. Although those people, events, and circumstances are fake, they're not real. That's not the meaning of illusion. They're saying it's not what it seems. In other words, the people, events, and circumstances are your reflection, your projection from within you. If you're real, then that reflection or that projection, those people, events, and circumstances are real because it's all you. That's what we mean by that. That's the illusion. It's not that they're not real. It is that you give them reality. That you give your entire life experience reality. That's what we mean. It's not what it seems. They're not separate out there, creating a reality outside of you, in your world, in your reality. The versions of them are according to your assumptions. It doesn't mean they're not real. They're consciousness. Everything's consciousness. Everything is awareness. Everything's reality, ultimate reality. It's just not what it seems. Judge not according to appearance. That's what the ancients said. They didn't say don't judge. They said just don't judge according to appearance. In other words, judge righteously. The greater reality behind it, you. So there you are. I've used the mirror example. You guys, I think you like this. I like it. You're standing in front of your physical mirror at home. You're real. You're reality. You know that. You can touch yourself and pinch yourself. You're real. And if you are real, then the reflection is real. Because the reflection doesn't exist outside of you. It's simply not what it seems. You can't directly change or influence or alter or get rid of that reflection on the outside, out there, because it's not separate from you. You're looking at the reflection as the reflection. That's what that means. So the only one to change is you, yourself, to change that reflection. Wow. Do you see this today? It's very clear. I hope it's clear. You don't directly change or influence or alter or get rid of that reflection on the outside because it's not separate from you, because it's not out there, it's you. And if you're real, that reflection's real. It's just not what it seems. So, Neville Goddard continues. The objective world vanishes as we turn our attention from it. Yes, because there is no objective world. Because it's a subjective world. It's an assumptive world. Your reality, you're the only objective reality. I am. That conscious awareness of being is the only objective reality that's real. Everything else is an assumption or subject to that I am awareness. Again, it doesn't mean it's not real. It means it's not ultimate reality. Because if you're real, the reflection's real. Your world is subject, this is what this means, to your focus, attention, and awareness of it. That's what the ancients meant by I am the light of the world. Jesus says your I am awareness, John 8:12. In other words, your world is subject to that. There is no objective world. You're it. That's what that means. And Neville Goddard talks about the idea of processes and techniques to identify with your ideal assumption of yourself. He talks about creating an imaginal scene, right? A simple scene that sees the outcome that you want, the identity that you are. Looking through those imaginal eyes, creating that scene, that ideal self in your reality, in a state that he calls a state akin to sleep, a deep meditative state. But you can be in that state or just a relaxed state and imagine what you want. That's all okay. All the affirmations, from robotic affirmations and scripting and all of that, whether you're listening to subliminals, it's all the same. But what's the key to all of this? I am the light of the world. In other words, define your highest ideal and concentrate your attention upon this ideal until you identify yourself with it. Assume the feeling of being it, the feeling that would be yours were you now embodying it in your world. This is from Neville Goddard. Now we're going to talk about this idea of feeling, but it's a great summary of all of his teachings right here today. Assume the feeling. So define your highest ideal. Assume that you are that person, right? Concentrate your attention upon this ideal. It's not effort. You're just choosing, right? Persistence is not about effort. Persistence is the idea of persisting in your wish fulfilled, or persistence is a choice. It's a decision deep within to be that person that you desire to be, to occupy that reality that you desire no matter what, because that's your preference. It's not about struggle or effort. You're not persisting and waiting until something changes out there. You're saying, I am this identity no matter what's going on out there. That's what persistence means. Define your highest ideal and concentrate your attention upon this ideal until you identify with it. You're it, right? Assume the feeling of being it, the feeling that would be yours, were you now embodying it in the world. But it's not what you think. It's not about the temporary emotions or what we call those thoughts and those temporary thoughts and feelings. Assume the feeling means assume the conviction and acceptance that you are that which you desire to be, that your wish is fulfilled. That's what Neville Goddard meant there. That's feeling is the secret. That's what he meant. That's the secret. Your conviction, your assumption, your acceptance that it is fulfilled. Your acceptance of that identity here and now, because you're the only one that decides. It's not decided out there. It's not decided by your changing thoughts and feelings, or whether you got triggered today by somebody, or whether something out there shook your confidence. Conviction can't be shaken. Acceptance of that identity can't be shaken. It's an assumption can't be shaken. You accept it as the truth of who you are. It doesn't require proof. That's different. I want to show you this today like we never have before. Neville Goddard said this: when I speak of feeling of wish fulfilled, I do not mean emotion. It doesn't get any clearer than that. I do not mean emotion, but the acceptance of the fact that it is fulfilled. In other words, the assumption that I am it. The acceptance of the fact that you are that which you desire to be. One simple assumption. Remember what an assumption is. A thing that is accepted as true or certain to happen without proof. Wow. It's that certainty. It doesn't require proof. It requires simply your acceptance that you are that person you desire to be. It's a choice. And you persist in that. That's how it hardens into fact or reality or your physical manifested experience. Not persisting until something happens. Persisting because that's your choice. That's your identity now. That's your preference anyway, no matter what's going on out there. It's a decision deep within to be that person, to be that identity, to assume that you are that no matter what. That's what persistence is. One simple assumption. Right now, I dare you. I dare you to change your life right now. The next 24 hours. One simple assumption, and not looking out there for proof, knowing that your assumption itself is the proof, that it's a fact already. I dare you. You're one assumption away from the life you've always dreamed of. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and these are the studios of Be Something Wonderful, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, be sure to join us on the Tom Kearin channel, our new YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to that channel. It's great. Again, it's a different way for me to connect with you on this message, right? That's the Tom Kearin channel. My last name is Kearin. The Tom Kearin channel. Subscribe to that. There's going to be another video there. And also, we have a live event later this month, our 4th live event of the year. And during the live event, I answer your questions while you ask them during the live stream. That's the end of April, which we've announced on the community boards on both channels. So join us there. That's on the Be Something Wonderful membership channel. With great love, with great light, and infinite gratitude, this is Tom Kearin here in the studios of Be Something Wonderful. Until next time, creators. We'll see you soon.